Years ago, while working as a hospital employee, I found myself in the midst of nightmares one night. My story was an experience that pushed the thin line between reality and dreams, and it went like this. The former chief physician of the hospital, who had successfully managed the hospital administration for many years, had passed away. However, one night, during a night shift, I saw the door of one of the rooms slowly opening. I walked towards it, and inside, I saw a man dressed in black with long hair, resembling our former chief physician. His face was identical to that of our former chief, but this figure was smiling at us with an eerie grin. Suddenly, he exited the room and started wandering through the corridors. I decided to follow him step by step. However, at the end of the corridor, the figure suddenly turned and looked directly at me. I can never forget the moment our eyes locked. At that moment, filled with fear, I woke up covered in sweat, finding myself in my own bed. After this incident, my night shifts began to feel like a nightmare. This black-clad figure that intruded into my dreams seemed to be getting closer to me with each occurrence. Even during the day, this fear and anxiety wouldn't leave me. When I shared these terrifying dreams with other hospital employees, many of them confessed to having similar experiences. Each of us felt as though we were being followed by the ghost or ghostly entity of the former chief physician. Was there a forgotten secret within the hospital after the chief physician's death? Or was this merely a fear figure ingrained in our minds? While working as a healthcare professional, hearing about the frightening experiences of patients was something we often encountered. However, the incident that happened to me was not only terrifying, but also an experience where the boundaries between reality and dreams blurred. One night, during a shift, I was with a patient diagnosed with COVID-19. The patient was restlessly moving in their bed and whispering. Their eyes were gleaming with fear, and their lips were trembling. The patient began to tell me a strange story. They claimed to have seen a bizarre entity in their room, one that was saying terrible things to them. This entity was described as a figure with long black hair and pallid skin, with eyes surrounded by deep darkness. The patient asserted that the figure was moving around the room, climbing on the walls, and constantly approaching them. These accounts deeply affected me, and I grew concerned for the patient. However, later that night, when I went to sleep, my nightmares began. In my dream, I saw the figure the patient had described. It was moving around my room with its black hair and pallid face. As it got closer to me, my breath was taken away, and I tried to wake up, but I couldn't. My nightmares recurred every night, and each time, the figure seemed to get closer. I no longer wanted to sleep because my dreams were filled with horrors. However, these nightmares didn't stop, and eventually, sleep deprivation left me weakened. One morning, I began to see the figure I had dreamt about in real life. This continued for 2 days, and I felt terrible. I decided to go to the hospital and explain the situation. The doctor said it was due to sleep deprivation and stress and recommended treatment. After starting treatment, my nightmares began to subside, and the figure bothered me less. However, this experience had a profound impact on me, and I continued to worry about the patient. Eventually, the patient decided to undergo the same treatment as me, and their hallucinations ceased. For both of us, this experience came to an end, and our nightmares no longer haunted us. Perhaps finding the thin line between the real world and the world of dreams is not always possible, and sometimes nightmares do not let go, even in waking life. My first day began in the gloomy corridors of the psychiatric hospital. I had been assigned as a new psychiatric nurse, and this new experience left me deeply curious. As I checked the doors of patient rooms one by one, I felt a shiver when I approached the room on the first floor. This room had its door slightly ajar, and it was said to house a mysterious patient, with staff forbidden to enter. Among hospital employees, this patient was referred to as the Shadow Man, because strange and frightening sounds often emanated from the room, yet no one dared to go inside. My curiosity urged me to solve the mystery of this room. The door was slightly open, and I could hear an eerie murmuring coming from within. For a moment, I contemplated entering, but then another nurse appeared in front of the door and stopped me. There was seriousness in her eyes, and she instructed me not to go inside. As I gazed at the room, the door swiftly shut, and horrifying screams began to emanate from inside. The nurse and I panicked, trying to open the door, but it was locked, and the screams from within grew increasingly terrifying. Finally, we managed to open the door and entered, but the room was enveloped in a hazy mist. We searched the room, but the patient was nowhere to be found. Strange symbols and writings were left on the bed. As the nurse and I attempted to understand how the patient had disappeared, we felt a cold breath on our backs. Turning around, we saw a figure dressed in black with long hair in the corner of the room. Its eyes were surrounded by deep darkness, and it was approaching us. Frozen in fear, we watched as the figure suddenly vanished, leaving behind only a rapidly dissipating cloud of mist. After this incident, the patient known as the Shadow Man was never found again, and access to that room was mysteriously restricted. The patient's true nature and how they disappeared remained a secret. This experience showed me just how mysterious and unsettling a psychiatric hospital could be, leaving a profound impact on me on my very first day.